Today I am going to start a new subject, disaster preparedness and planning. And the subject code is CB701B. So, what is disaster management? Disaster management can be defined as the organization and management of resources and responsibilities for dealing with all humanitarian aspects for emergencies in order to lessen the impact of disaster. According to United Nations Office of Disaster Risk Reduction, this is also known as UNDRR. A disaster is a serious disruption to the functioning of a community which causes human, material, economic, and environmental losses beyond the community and ability to cope up in the situation. So it results from the combination of hazard, conditions of vulnerability, and insufficient capacity of measurement and reduce the potential negative consequences of risk. So disaster damage is usually measured in physical unit. For an example, you can say that square meter of housing or square kilometers of road uh, has been damaged during a disaster, and also describes the total or partial destruction of physical asset. Now, what is hazard, vulnerability, and risk? A hazard may be defined as a dangerous condition or event that the threat or have the potential causing injury to life or damage to the property or the environment. A hazard is any source of potential damage which harm or adverse health effect on the something or someone. Okay, so natural hazards are naturally occurring physical phenomena causes there by the rapid or slow onset event which can be geophysical like earthquake, landslide, climatological event. Okay, so during climatological event like a drought, extreme temperature, heat waves, meteorological event like cyclone, storm, and there is a special or another hazard is biological hazard like any kind of epidemic or pandemic like covid or animal plague is a type of biological hazard. So another hazard is anthropogenic hazard. Anthropogenic hazard are a hazard caused by the human action or inaction. For an example of such hazard, include the pollution or like deforestation and use of the pesticides and during the flood in the chemical spillages, etc. Okay. Now vulnerability. Vulnerability may be defined as a condition determined by physical and social, economic, and also environmental factor or processes which increase the susceptibility of a community to the impact of hazard. Okay, and risk is measured of the expected losses due to a hazard event occurring in a given area over a specific time period. So, disaster risk arises when hazard interact with physical, social, economic, and environmental vulnerabilities. Now, the types of vulnerability. Vulnerability may be different form, maybe different forms like economic vulnerability. So, economic vulnerability of a community is the potential impact of hazard on economic asset and process. Okay, so it can be assessed by determining how varied its sources of income or the ease of access control over the means of the production, right? And in physical vulnerability, it is the potential for physical impact on the physical environment. Especially the physical vulnerability of an area depends on the geographic proximity. So, the geographic proximity and the disaster of the origin. like wooden homes which are less likely collapse during the earthquake prone area. Okay. Now, social vulnerability. It represents the potential impact of event on certain groups such as the poor and disabled children, like elder women or elderly men, where they're residing. So when the flooding occurs, then some citizens such as the elderly and the differently able may be unable to relocate at a very short time of period. Okay, so this is a type of social vulnerability. And the last one is environmental vulnerability. So it environmental vulnerability, it represents the potential impact of events on account to the environmental conditions. Okay, like in a wetland, for an example, in a wetland are some sensitive increasing of the salinity of seawater, and the pollution from stormwater runoff containing the agricultural chemicals or eroded soil very quickly. Okay, now types of disaster. Generally, on the basic of sources, disaster can be two types, like natural disaster and also man-made disaster. Natural disasters are the disasters which are caused because of natural phenomena like meteorological phenomena, geological, or even biological origin. Like for an example of natural disaster like cyclone, tsunami, earthquake, and volcanic eruption, which are exclusively are of natural origin. Landslide, flood, drought, fire, socio-natural disaster, and the cause of the both natural and man-made. For example, flooding may be caused because of heavy rain, and the landslide or blocking of drain with the human waste. Okay, and another type of disaster is anthropogenic disaster. So this type of disaster occurs due to human invention or negligence, especially human invention and negligence. So these are associated with the industries or energy generation facilities and include the explosion of leakage and toxic waste, pollution, dam failure, war, or any kind of the civil effect. Okay. So this is the major, some major natural disaster and some minor natural disaster. Major in the major natural disaster there is flood, cyclone, drought, and earthquake, and minor natural disaster like cold wave, thunderstorm, heat waves. Okay, storm and mudslides. And in man-made disaster there are some major man-made disaster. Okay, and some minor man-made disaster. From the next class, I will discuss about the disaster management, and also I will discuss the disaster management cycle. Thank you.